So I think the first thing that really occurred was in 2013 when, the university asked me to investigate why the DFW, which is the failure rates in Calculus 1, Calculus 2 and pre-calculus was so high. And that led me to try to understand, was it the issue of students being in the wrong class, or was it the issue that the students were not prepared? What was the issue? And that kind of led me to believe that I need to investigate what is the pre-existing knowledge that the students were coming at UConn, even though they were being placed in these courses in the math department. So that's where it all actually started. So the biggest piece of realization came actually when I gave a 15-question test to the students who were already in pre-calculus and calculus in the fall of 2013. And that test, the 15-question test, which is actually all on foundational mathematics, was a better predictor of their performance in the course that they were placed, which was amazing because I looked at other predictors such as SATs, GPAs, that is the school GPA, and they were not even close. This 15-question test actually explained more than 50% variance in the grade, and that was a big deal. That was kind of an eye-opener for me to say that, oh, these students are really not placed in the right course if this foundational math test is actually predicting their performance in pre-calculus and calculus. The starting point really was this test, and what I realized is, how well are we measuring what we think we are measuring? That's the question that I think educators really need to get behind. Do we think that by somebody getting a grade C or above, that what does it mean that the student has got a grade of C and above? And how do we actually relate that to the concept? So I actually created the data integration and assessment system where I took all the questions that were being actually given on these high stake tests, which are like midterm 1, midterm 2, the finals in Calc 1, Calc 2, pre-calculus. And then I mapped all these questions that I had, these are the items that I call them, all the way to 8th grade algebra. So every question that had a structure which was having the student to recall the concepts that they had learned in the past, to come in and actually use them in these courses now that they were placed in these courses. That's where I started identifying the gaps. When I call this gap identification, it is important to understand that I can actually take whatever course that they are in and whatever problem they're solving, and I can map that structure all the way to the 8th grade algebra. So I use the Common Core to actually look at the concepts that were being taught in Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry, trigonometry across the state, and then map these concepts. So these were like about 1800 concepts that I actually mapped. And then from there, I started understanding these gaps, the maps that were being produced for these gaps in students. I took that information and created videos that basically were now addressing those specific gaps.